Hey guys, welcome to Inspect, a podcast about web development and tech. On the show, as usual, you've got myself, Kay, and our co-host, Ajay. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good man, all good. Yeah, so I'm taking the lead on this show. You just put me in that awkward position, so yeah, let's just crack on with it and see how it goes. But yeah, this episode we're going to be talking about cloud storage, and we'll just have an overview about what it is, how it works, the different cloud storage solutions we're using, whether it's for personal use or for work and business and stuff. So, the big ones out there we've got like Amazon, Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, iCloud, etc. So we'll go over those a bit later. So let's just get into it and just kind of like have a little quick overview about what it is. So essentially, your cloud storage allows you to store your data on hardware in remote physical locations, right? So that's the part that we don't see. And what it allows us to do is just access our data and information from anywhere and from any device, as long as you've got an internet connection.
So
That's
it's
essentially the idea.
so it's not literally in the clouds in the sky,
No, it's not. It's
just
not
a
literally,
cloud.
and this is the bit I was going to come to next. So when this term started being used, by everyone and in the tech industry, I was thinking like maybe there is something up there, and there's some kind of data flying around, and it's being stored in some kind of I don't know
Yeah,
towers high in the sky and stuff like that.
yeah. We
You
should
know,
just clarify it because it might not be obvious to everyone what
mm,
actually is happening with cloud storage.
exactly.
There's that meme going around as well where it says the cloud is just another person's computer or something like that,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's basically what it is, isn't it? It's just a
yeah.
server in another location. Generally that server is going to be a lot better managed than your own PC at home. It's going to have a lot of redundancy in there. It's going to have its own backups, and
Exactly.
its sole purpose is to store files. It doesn't need
Yeah,
a flashy operating system and all these nice monitors and peripherals attached to it. It's just generally going to be a computer in a box,
exactly.
or several hundred computers all chained together.
Yeah, and we'll come to that in a second. But this is the thing. Like, it just boils down to the fact that there is a physical machine, or a chain of machines that are actually storing your information, and and the term they've given this thing is cloud computing or cloud storage. So there's two ways to upload your information to the cloud, and you can store it directly to the data server, or you can do it via software on your device. Now we've all got these mobile phones, tablets, laptops, computers, etc., etc. And then we've also got various different types of apps that we use on our phones or on our computers. And what they do is they interface with the, the cloud storage locations. And as soon as we drag and drop something onto that storage on the app, it's sent directly to that server, if you like, or that location. And then that information is just readily available whenever you want it. You can just pick it up. Doesn't matter where you go, where you're connected to the internet, anywhere around the world, you can just have direct access to it. So those are the two main sort of ways of getting access to your server. And the software or solutions that are out there that we kind of like that we can use to do that are things like Amazon Drive, Dropbox. They're probably the big ones that everyone knows about. So I don't know the ones that you're using, but I think the main ones that I'm using is Dropbox, Google Drive, and probably OneDrive as well.
Yeah, well, they all offer a slight different service, and they all
Mm,
have a different amount of storage that you get included in your free account as well.
mm,
Because obviously, with all these cloud storage options, you do need to pay for the amount of space that you're using, and
yeah,
most companies do give you something for free. So I tend to spread my files across a few. My everyday access mainly happens in Dropbox. I actually went away from Dropbox recently
mm,
when they introduced their new desktop app for the Mac. I don't know if they introduced it for Windows as well at the same time, but anyway, the Mac version, it kind of took over your operating system a little bit, and I didn't like it. So I moved my files away from there with the intention of leaving Dropbox. But then
right,
I was using it again at work, and I discovered that you can basically turn their new version of the app off and revert it back to how it used to work, where it was literally just a folder on your computer which syncs. So I've put some files back into Dropbox now. I just like the way that it syncs. It seems to be one of the quickest. Seems to have the least errors. So yeah, that's the one I use for my day-to-day stuff. And then more long-term storage, I use Box because I've got quite a large account with them. I've got a 50 gigabyte account. I think I'm on some sort of legacy account with them.
Right.
Or there must have been a deal at the time when I signed up, and they were giving 50 gigabytes. So
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, exactly. It's good because they only give about 10 now. So
Yeah, you get 10 free. And but yeah, you must be on a very old plan then. Yeah.
yeah, I've had it for quite a few years, and I use that mainly as an archive. So old
Right.
client work. I've got a big storage of fonts on there that I've amassed over the years.
Right.
And some photos and stuff like that, some larger videos I store on Box, but I don't have that synced with my any of my computers. But Dropbox is in sync.
So talking about sync, that's one of the benefits of cloud storage. So let's quickly run through the benefits that we've got for cloud storage. So number one, we've got you can access it from anywhere via an internet connection. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, as long as you're in a place with decent internet connection, you can easily just access your data, upload information, download information, very very easily, from wherever you are. The next one, fast and easy access to your data. The interfaces are very good on these on the apps that we use. Like you mentioned, Dropbox, Box I've seen as well. Very very easy drag and drop interface. So it's fast and easy, and literally anyone can use it, without any kind of hassle. Disaster recovery, and I think that's one of the big ones. If your physical hard drive or computer fails, data is always recoverable by the cloud.
Yeah,
You've got automation in there as well, so that's a lifesaver in itself.
I've been burned by that as well. I've got a load of photos of my daughter from sort of age birth to about 2, which were all on my NAS drive, and I had two drives in my NAS, in my Synology NAS, and one of the drives died, and because of the way I had the RAID set up, I couldn't access the second drive either, so I had to basically replace both, right? And then I managed to recover some of those files off that what's it called, the big 3.5-inch hard drive. I managed to recover some of those files, and then I moved them all onto a portable Western Digital drive. So I would say I recovered about 85-90% of the photos, which is good.
Right.
Put them on this Western Digital drive, put it away in a drawer for about 2 years, came back to it one day, and that's it. It's completely unreadable. So in the end, I lost them all. I've still got that drive, hoping that one day that I'll find some sort of data recovery service who can find them. So I don't know if you know of any good data recovery services, but since then, I basically don't store anything on physical drives now. Everything goes into the cloud, either in Google Photos or iCloud or Dropbox or something, or multiple areas actually. I've got things in multiple locations.
Well, that's it. It just makes sense. Another story I didn't even know about this that I came across in researching this topic was the movie Toy Story 2. I don't know if you know about this, but basically what happened was one of the engineers had put in a delete command on their system, right, and accidentally deleted every single scene, shot, the movie up to the point everything had been wiped off, and no one had any kind of backup. There was no backup kept anywhere off-site, so everyone was kind of lost. Like, crap, we've literally lost Toy Story 2, like in its process. But it turns out the director of the movie, she had kept a backup of every single file at home.
Okay.
And she was working on it from home. And then I think after that, they kind of implemented some kind of, full-on, backup solution. But I don't know if cloud was fully fledged back then. It might have been, I don't know. But
probably an enterprise, yeah.
Yeah. You can imagine in that scenario, you're making this big film, how big Toy Story is.
Yeah.
And then some idiot goes and types in a delete command. I'm like, how and why would that scenario happen? It's just like, it's crazy. But it happened, and it's a true story. And I just came about. Was it yesterday? I was having a read about it. And yeah, that's your disaster recovery.
Like the guy from Jurassic Park who decided to nuke his computer when he stole the embryos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So disaster recovery is huge, and then we can move on to security. So your server data is distributed across redundant servers, and data is stored and safeguarded against any type of hardware failure. So you've got redundant machines ready to kick in. If one machine fails, another machine will kick in and help your backup and restore information, snapshots, etc. So that's generally the basis of cloud computing. Your redundant servers all working together, backing each other up. Automation. So the way I've got mine running, and I think you've probably got this running the same way, is I've got a Dropbox folder on my desktop, and I usually work directly from that folder. So if I've got any kind of like files, local websites I'm working on or anything like that, and save any file, it's saved to my Dropbox folder, and it syncs automatically. So that's the way I generally work with it.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, for work, we use within the company we use Box for all of our storage. So I keep all of my work-related work in my Box sync folder. Any personal files I've got, they're going to Dropbox, and then any development work is actually outside of all that. I know there's some people who use Dropbox as their version control.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, I haven't gone down that route. I keep my dev work completely separate, and then I just let Git handle that, handle the backups there.
Yeah. So Git's another thing, right? That's another cloud solution there. So you've got version control, and that's all stored in the cloud as well.
Yeah, basically,
so it's everywhere. So moving on to that, collaboration is another benefit of cloud storage. So you can have multiple access to the same data at any time. So multiple people can just jump on into a folder that you've given them access to, if you've got privacy set on there, and they can upload information to that folder. They can view it, to work on documents, files, anything like that in that folder.
Yeah, exactly how we've got it set up with our Dropbox folder for inspect.
Yeah.
The way that we work, we both record our audio on our own computers, and then when we're finished, we both chuck them into Dropbox, and then those end up getting synchronized onto my laptop eventually, and then I pick up those files and then do the final edit, and then put the final MP3 back into Dropbox so that Kay can preview it on his side. So it's a good workflow, and that whole sync process, especially with the MP3 at the end, which is only it's normally under 100 megabytes, takes about a minute to sync. So
that's brilliant
on our connections that we've got. So it's all very quick. Trying to do that without a cloud syncing folder would just be a nightmare, really.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on, we've got scalability. So you only pay for the service you use, and that's just cool in itself. You just if you start off with like 5 gig, you're probably not going to need a terabyte. 5 gigs I think that's about right for anyone getting involved in cloud storage. I think it's probably more than enough.
It's a good starting point
for your average user. Yeah.
For some services, it's a bit small. Like iCloud gives you 5 gigabyte, and ideally they should give you enough to back up your phone. So all the phones are minimum 64 gigabyte now. 5 gigabytes of cloud storage is not going to get you very far when you're trying to back your phone up. So I think iCloud is one of the only services that I actually pay for additional storage. Everyone else seems to give you enough to get what you need done. So I pay for 50 gigabyte, I think, on iCloud.
That's the thing. My iCloud, I've not paid for anything else. I've just got the 5 gig that's on there. And the thing is, my MacBook, my desktop sort of sync with it. My downloads folder sync with it as well. And every other day, I get a notice saying your iCloud's full. Pay to increase it and stuff. So, but I don't really use it that much, like directly use it, and it's just kind of there. And I think what I'm going to do is probably just switch it off and just use one of the other solutions that are out there, because it is very, very limited. I'd rather not pay for it. It's just
Well, you haven't got an iPhone, so it's probably not worth you paying for it. I mean, if for people in the Apple ecosystem who want to use iCloud to back up their photos and all their settings and so forth, 5 gigabytes is just not enough. For some people it will be, but I think for anyone who takes a lot of photos, or anyone who's in our sort of field of work, designers who want to back up their design files and their assets and stuff like that, 5 gigabytes going to run out pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely. I think we touched on the synchronization side of things. That's a huge benefit, and then the convenience side of things as well. It's just so convenient having it. if you're out and about taking pictures, if your phones, especially like with Android devices, they're all part of the Google ecosystem. So if you take any kind of pictures, they're instantly sort of synced to your photos folder. That's just a life-saving sort of situation as well, because there's a lot of times back in the day where I didn't have any kind of setup like that. It was a case of taking pictures and then your memory gets all used up on your phone. And then it was a case of going through them as, right, which photos do I want to keep and which ones can I delete to free up space?
Yeah.
But now you're in a situation where you don't have to worry about that anymore, so...
No, exactly. I mean, especially with Google Photos, with their unlimited storage of photos, and the quality that they store them in is pretty high anyway. Unless you're doing some very high quality prints or large scale printing. I think the size that Google stores them in is more than enough for anybody.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe there's people out there. Like, I know a few photographers who... I had a chat with a guy, I think it was a couple of days ago, and he was saying it's not using any kind of cloud solution for backup or anything, and everything's just stored on a local hard drive. And I was like, well, that's an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, I think, for a photographer who's using, say, raw files and, editing files in Lightroom and so on, or taking files off the computer, it's probably better to have those on a physical hard drive, just for speed's sake.
Sure.
But there's got to be some sort of backup solution in there somewhere, whether that's to the cloud or to some sort of off-site storage. But yeah, I understand why they're keeping it on hard drive. It's just for the speed of access of these files. Because if you're making lots of small changes in Lightroom constantly, and those changes are constantly being trying to sync to the cloud, then that's where errors can occur. So that's the one thing with this syncing, is that if it's constantly happening automatically, it can sometimes get out of sync if you're making lots of changes in a short period. So you do sometimes need to just let your sync folder just settle and catch up with things.
Yeah. I found, I've had issues with Dropbox on my MacBook, and especially, when I'm working on design work in Sketch or Photoshop. I think it's mainly more so with Photoshop, with large design files, PSD files. What I find is the sync is so slow. It literally grinds my MacBook to a halt, and the fan is just like as loud as anything, and it's like an aeroplane about to take off, and it's all down to the CPU usage of the Dropbox sync, and it's just ridiculous. So I've tried to throttle it as well using the settings, but it doesn't seem to work that well. So that's the only thing with the Dropbox sync.
Yeah, in scenarios like that, sometimes what I'll do is just pause the syncing for a little while if I know that I'm going to be doing lots of little changes to a file or something, or I'm moving files around within my Dropbox folder. I'll pause the syncing, get everything done the way I want it, and then turn sync back on, and then just leave walk away for 10-15 minutes and just let it catch up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll have to give that a go as well. Yeah. So okay, now moving on, let's talk about. I've got a list here of, I call it the big five, the well-known brands. Actually six.
There's six in your list.
Yeah, because Box wasn't on there, and when I was doing some research, I looked at Tech Radar, and they kind of like put Box in there as well as number one. Not in any kind of order, but it was just there as number one.
Yeah,
so
I think Box is more appealing to enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know of anyone really who uses Box for their personal cloud storage.
Okay.
Even I've got an account, but like I said, I use it just for long-term sort of storage, long-term archive. But yeah, go ahead. Let us know what these big six are.
Yeah, so the big... I mean, listeners might not agree with this six. I mean, there might be others out there that I don't know of. But these are the ones that kind of...
No particular order.
Yeah, no particular order. So you got Amazon Cloud Drive up there, and everyone knows who Amazon is, and so their solution gives you 5 GB, and that gives you unlimited photos with Prime. So that's a bit of a bonus there. So if you watch any kind of like TV shows or anything like that, then that's part of your package. Next we got Dropbox. Everyone knows Dropbox. I'm using Dropbox. I've got like a business account with them, so I pay about £80 to £90 for the year, and I think I've got up to about 1 terabyte. I can't remember exactly how much I've got.
Yeah, I mean that's still pretty reasonable.
Yeah, their free option gives you 2 GB and then up to 18 gig with referrals. So just what that means is you just get your friends to sign up with a referral link, and they'll increase your storage
Yeah,
capacity.
I didn't know they still do that because that's the way I've increased my Dropbox account. I've got about nine gigabytes or 9.5 gigabytes, and that was purely through referrals. So before, what you used to be able to do was when you create an account, they used to make you perform some basic tasks like
Yeah,
share it on Twitter, invite another friend. Um, there was something like add a public folder, or there were the little things that a little checklist of things to get you onboarded onto the service, and they used to give you like 250 megs free for doing those checklists. And yeah, I went through all of them, and I managed to score about 9 gigabytes of storage. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I think they've stopped doing that sort
yeah.
of stuff now.
I don't know if they're still doing it, but I think that they're doing it here and there. So I know you get personalized emails from them, depending on your usage and stuff, and then they'll help you to increase it if you do this, that, and the other.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, so that's Dropbox, and the next one we got OneDrive. I've got a love-hate relationship with OneDrive. It's the Microsoft solution. You get 5 GB free, and then students get 1 TB. That's quite a lot, especially for a student. Students are going to need that kind of storage space.
That's really good.
But the thing I find with OneDrive is when I first got onto it. So I've got the Microsoft Office 365 suite, and that's all synced up with OneDrive. The OneDrive's its storage solution for that. So any documents you're working on in your Office suite, they're automatically saved to your OneDrive account, if you like. So you've got public folders, personal folders, and things like that set up in there. But what I found was I guess this was a couple of years ago. It was very, very clunky, so it wouldn't sync straight away. Some people could see files, some people couldn't. And when I was working in a team at this time, it was a case of where's so and so's proposal? Have you uploaded it to the shared folder? I'm like, yeah, it's there. Have a look. I can see it, but they couldn't see it. So half an hour later, it still wasn't there. So it was a case of resaving it, and then it would appear. And yeah, it was just horrible. But I think they've ironed it out now. And I generally just use it for any kind of like Excel spreadsheets or Microsoft Word documents. Anything that I'm working on in that environment, I just let it save automatically to a OneDrive account.
Okay.
And then the OneDrive folder is available in my Microsoft Outlook window as well. So it's just there. It's very easy to get to. So
yeah, I think if you're deep in the Microsoft ecosystem, then it's probably worth having a OneDrive account as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
Personally, I've never really got on with it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just coming from Dropbox, being used to the way Dropbox handles things, even on the web. Because that's the other thing with these cloud storage. Most of them do have a web interface as well, where you can view all your files and interact with them. And I don't know. I just never really got on with the OneDrive, or even some of Microsoft's other apps like OneNote, and it just, they all kind of feel a bit the same. So it was once I wasn't really happy with one of them, I found out I wasn't happy with any of them really.
Yeah, the vibe I get off them is they all kind of feel the same. They're all very weak. They're lacking something. Just by like the interface, and when you're working with it and using it, it just feels like something's missing.
They feel like Microsoft.
yeah. It feels like Microsoft.
That's what it is.
Definitely. That's the vibe I get off it as well. And
yeah, but it's worth having an account with them because, like you said, 5 gigabytes for free, terabyte if you're a student. It's just another, think of it as that USB drive that you've got in the back of your drawer. It's just there if you ever need it one day. Then
exactly. And one thing I'd say to people out there who, who are just getting on board with cloud storage, want to understand it a bit more, is just get an account with everyone that's out there. Like, just get a free account, because you don't know where you're going to be using it and how they'll be used as in your daily life kind of thing. So that's how my OneDrive works when I'm working in documents through Word, in Outlook, in my Office suite, and then Dropbox for my work scenarios, and then Amazon Cloud photographs, family photographs, personal photographs, things like that. With that, and Google Drive, that's the next one we're moving on to. Google gives you 15 gigabyte free, and I think that's a really good introduction there for to get onto the cloud.
Yeah, definitely. One thing to be aware of with Google Drive, though, is that any attachments that you've got in your Gmail, they count towards your drive storage as well. So if you're the sort of person who holds on to emails forever,
yeah,
if you're getting big files sent to you often, then that will eat into your storage. But otherwise, 15 gig is pretty good.
It is. It's massive, and the Google Drive works really well on Android phones. As it should and as you expect it to work.
Yeah, and I
The
think
whole Google ecosystem is brilliant.
any documents or anything that you create in Google Docs or Google
Mm.
Sheets or any of the
Yeah.
Google apps, I think they don't count towards your storage.
Okay.
Even though when you sync the Google Drive folder, um, those documents do show up as a physical file on your
Yeah.
laptop. They just don't count towards your storage.
They
I
don't count.
think
That's interesting.
it doesn't seem like anyway.
Okay.
And if they do, they're so small. You could probably have thousands of Google Docs before you create any sort of dent in your storage.
Yeah, but that's I use that again for personal stuff. So any photos on my phone that I take, well, on a holiday, out and about, or anything, they get synced straight away to my Google Drive folder. And I've got a number of clients actually who share their photography, content, website related stuff using Google Drive as well. So they'll create a folder, and then they'll invite me to that folder, and they just share everything on there. So the fact that these guys can actually use it without any kind of issues is, that's pretty cool as well. So I like the fact that it's very, very easy to use, and yeah, it's just it's a good solution up there. Probably my favorite, I think, out of a lot. Then we've got the next one, iCloud, which we've touched on. I don't know much about it. Maybe you want to give me a breakdown on that.
Yeah, so like we mentioned earlier, iCloud. If you've got an Apple ID, you get 5 GB of iCloud storage for free, and that gets used for backing up photos or backing up your whole phone even. You can use it for storing your contacts, any documents within apps. So if you're using like Keynote or Pages, any documents you create, they can get stored in there, and any apps that you have on your phone, if they have any local storage. So maybe something like if you got WhatsApp on your phone and someone's you've got a group chat going which has got lots of files being shared and so on. All that data can be backed up to iCloud. So it can get eaten up fairly quickly. And like we said earlier, 5 GB generally not enough for most people. For any sort of power users of their phone, and especially if you've got a phone, an iPad, and a Mac as well, all on the same account, it'll get eaten up pretty quickly. But it's not expensive. It's like 50 GB is 79 pence a month or 99 cents. So it's cheap for 50 gig.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually. But yeah, no, I hardly ever use it, so for me, it's not there. It's kind of working in the background. And then the next one we've got Box, which you guys use, right?
Yeah, so like I said, I've got my personal account, my Box account, which is 50 gig. I use it as an archive, but we use it at work. So we've got an enterprise account at work, part of the IBM enterprise. And we use that for everything. We use it for, everyone has their own little personal folder within Box, but then all the company-wide IBM stuff is stored in there as well. So, yeah. I don't even want to know how much storage we're using in Box, but company-wide, we must be using hundreds of terabytes, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's IBM though, isn't it? So you can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. The thing I remember back in there when I was working with an agency, we had a local NAS drive, and this was huge. this was you see NAS drives like tiny little one. This thing was actually huge, it was massive. It was like a wardrobe kind of thing. There might have been a server in there as well, but that's how everything was stored. So that kind of like worked like the cloud. So the team would be working on their projects and stuff, and it'd all be kind of synced up to that. And yeah, and you just get access to that at the same time, kind of thing. So that was kind of that solution back in the day before the whole cloud thing came about. But yeah, but in that sort of environment, you're going to need that kind of kit.
Yeah, and I think that's where Box really shines. Like I said earlier, I think they are aimed more towards enterprise solutions.
Yeah.
Whereas like iCloud and Dropbox and Google Drive, you can see that they are trying to appeal to end users in the mass market. That's why you don't really see Box advertising anyway. They haven't got a massive social presence, or they're not really on the tip of anyone's tongue. But in the enterprise world, obviously they're handling big amounts of data. With clients like IBM, they're behind them, then they're obviously doing something right. I think the enterprise cloud storage is a completely different market as well. There's a lot of services which are purely for enterprise. So we use this other service at work as well called Code 42, which is the
Right.
enterprise version of CrashPlan. CrashPlan's another like a whole computer backup service.
Right.
So whereas things like Dropbox and Google Drive, they synchronize one folder generally. CrashPlan, they back up your whole computer and create like a disk image, so you can recover the whole thing if you need to, or basically delete the whole thing if you need to. And Code 42 is their enterprise solution for
Right.
like
Let's have a quick look at that.
yeah, it's like if you've got 200 or more employees, then it's called
Mm.
Code 42, which is good. It just sits in your menu bar and it just churns away and creates a backup of your whole computer anytime anything has changed. The only problem with that is that every now and then it really takes over your CPU.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just the fans go crazy and everything grinds to a halt. Most of the time, it's fairly unintrusive and it just does these small changes in the background. But I
Yeah.
would say about once every 2 weeks, it just really churns away.
Right. Okay. That's that's going to be for your enterprise or level, right? There's one that I came across recently because I'm looking for a different kind of sort of solution for backups anyway. And I came across Backblaze.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of Backblaze. Yeah, very similar to CrashPlan as well, where they back up your whole computer.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of solution I'm looking at, and they provide personal backup, business backup, and B2 cloud storage is their cloud sort of solution that they have. So I've been looking at that, and I think I'm gonna, they've got a free trial going on. And I think I want to have a go with their solution and see how that works. But so far, all the reviews have been, top notch, and everyone sort of recommended it.
Yeah, I've
And
heard good things about Blackblaze because they're fairly cheap as well, and it's like $5. Do they charge only in dollars? $5 per computer or something?
mm,
And that's like unlimited backups. And then
yeah,
I think they just charge you if you want to recover that data. Then they charge you based on how much you want to recover.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
it's
So
decent.
yeah, I'm having a look into that. So let's see how that goes. So I think we've kind of touched on the usage of these storage solutions. For me, for personal use, I'm finding I'm using Google Drive, Amazon Cloud Drive, and iCloud without even realizing that it's actually doing anything. But they're mainly there for personal use, and then my work-related stuff is mainly on Dropbox, OneDrive, and uh, Google Drive as well. So a bit of both there. I guess it's all kind of see. I just mentioned Google and it set my phone off. um, yeah, there's various different uses for these things, and I think some of them are a bit more suited towards work related kind of activities than the others. Like iCloud, I wouldn't suggest that for Teams and things like that. Um,
No, I don't even think they've got the concept of any sort of enterprise iCloud. I think iCloud is purely personal. You can do family
it is purely
accounts.
personal. Yeah, you can create family accounts. Yeah,
Yeah, so you can share it within your family members, but I don't believe they've got any sort of enterprise solution.
yeah, and I think for me, Dropbox is like the ideal sort of work sort of solution at the moment. And within the recent updates that they've released, you can make notes against files, and you can have conversations within the Dropbox browser, if you like, in your browser on their website. Once you log in, you can leave comments on files. Your clients can leave feedback on any kind of work you've uploaded to the folder. So I find that a real benefit, especially when you need some kind of communication with your client, or let's just say you're working with a team. Just some quick notes, quick, easy sort of updates on any kind of work you've been doing in a shared folder. That's a nice little feature to have, in Dropbox. And I think Google have released that as well. So Google have got some kind of
Yeah,
notes feature, I think.
Google Drive has had commenting for a while, where you can
Mm,
comment on files or folders. I think Dropbox have taken it to an extra step where you can you can add like notes to like a description to a folder, and you can assign tasks to people and stuff like that. So it's good. I mean, if your whole team is on there, then yeah, it would be a good service to use. But one thing that Dropbox did is they pushed that feature onto everybody, and I think for most people, like people like me who are just using Dropbox for their personal files, I've got real no use for those features because I don't need to leave comments on my files because there's no one else to read them.
Exactly. For me, it's different. Like I've got a number of clients who use Dropbox to share images with me, or I'm sharing design work with them.
Yeah.
And rather than firing emails back and forth, they'll just leave a comment straight away on the file. And then I know, what's going on, and we can have a little conversation in there. It's just all in one place as well. You don't have to jump around between different, software applications.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, that's what they're all trying to do now. They're trying to create, these sharing services are trying to be your go-to place now, where they're not just a folder that syncs anymore. They're a whole suite of apps as well related to them, and they're trying to just keep you into their ecosystem. So yeah, if you do pick one and go all in, you may get a little bit stuck, but I think, like we said earlier, it's good to just create an account on all of them and see which one fits your workflow the best and your style of working, because they all offer something slightly different. But if you just want literally a folder which syncs to the cloud and across all your computers, then I would put my money on Dropbox. I think it's definitely the most robust solution, and it's got proven track record. Just turn off their new desktop app if you can, because it's just pointless.
Well, there you heard it here, guys. That's the number one tip from Ajay. Dropbox, and just turn off the app, and you put yourself a really good solution there.
So that's pretty much everything we've got for cloud storage. Like we said, just try out all of them, see what works for you, and just make sure that you've definitely got something in place, because it's gonna save you one day. It's much better. Don't just rely on physical storage if you've got anything important to store. Yeah. So before we go, have you got any recommendations for anything this week?
I've been on Netflix quite a bit this week, and there's two main shows that I've been watching. So number one, everyone's talking about it, Top Boy, and I kind of made a mistake. I started watching it on Netflix, not realizing I was watching the new season, where I haven't even watched the old one, the original one.
Okay.
So I got 4 episodes in, and then found out afterwards that I should be watching Top Boy Summer House. So they're actually both on Netflix. So start with Top Boy Summer House and then watch the new one. Brilliant show, absolutely amazing. Everyone's talking about it. I think it's number 1 on Netflix UK's watch list at the moment. So yeah, highly recommend that one. And the other one that I've started watching is Unbelievable. It is brilliant. It's another crime one, and it's about a girl who's assaulted, and the thing is, nobody believes her, and it kind of goes on from there. I don't want to give away too much about it, but it is brilliant. So yeah, Unbelievable and Top Boy, my 2 recommendations.
I've just added them both to my list.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to recommend a YouTube channel. It's the YouTube channel is called Corridor Crew. It's by these VFX artists. The company's called Corridor. I think they're just called Corridor, and they've got a couple of YouTube channels. One's called Corridor Crew, which is like a behind the scenes about what the actual crew get up to. Corridor is their main channel where they're showcasing the actual work. But this one, Corridor Crew, they basically, a couple of the guys, 2 or 3 of the guys, they sit down on a couch and they sort of pick apart VFX from various films. They show their own films as well that they've worked on. They've worked on a lot of Marvel films and stuff like that. And they basically show the process of how some of the visual effects is done in some of these films. And then every now and then they'll invite other VFX artists to come along to their show, and they'll talk about their process, and they'll compare like good CGI and bad CGI and stuff like that.
Right.
Another cool thing they do is they invite stuntmen onto their show as well, or stunt people, shall I say. And they'll look at like action sequences, and they'll get this stunt person to describe how that sequence was done.
Right.
One of the really cool ones I saw recently was about Mission Impossible Fallout, and there's a scene in there where Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill, they're fighting in a nightclub's bathroom, and it looks like a really aggressive, violent fight where people are being thrown against the urinals and
Yeah.
the sinks and bashing through walls and stuff like that. And
Right.
they basically just slowed down the footage, and they explained how that whole room, although it looks like a bathroom in a nightclub, it's all actually a completely padded room made out of foam.
Oh wow.
So like a dense foam. So they were running around on it, and this
Right.
floor is all completely soft. And there was this one particular scene where Tom Cruise falls down onto his knees onto these like tiles, a tiled sort of shelf. And when they slow it down, you can see that those tiles bending where his knee is like
Oh,
depressing
man.
into it. So it's really impressive, and they talk about how they sort of practice these action sequences and how the CGI plays a part in making these sequences come to life. So yeah, really cool. So that's Corridor Crew.
I'll definitely check that one out.
All right, cool. So thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, then consider subscribing in your podcast player. And it'd be great if you could leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. You can get in touch with us on Twitter at InspectFM, and you can check out the show notes from this episode on the website inspect.fm, which has an archive of all the shows and also details on how you can subscribe in all the various services. And on that note, we will see you next week.
Yeah, catch you then.
Bye.